Hi, in this video we are going to explore different types of fractions with a focus on how to convert between improper fractions and mixed number. So to start with, we better explore what they actually are. There are three main types of fraction. We have proper fractions, improper fractions, and mixed number. Let's take a look at what that means. So a proper fraction could be described in three main ways. The numerator is smaller than the denominator, which is another way of saying the top is smaller than the bottom. And if the top is smaller than the bottom, then that means we've got a value that is less than 1. And we might do another video at some point to explore that more, but it's a value less than 1. Or it could be described as part of a whole. So we haven't got the whole thing, we've got part of the whole. And here are some examples of proper fractions. And you can see in all of those, the top is smaller than the bottom. Okay, which means that all of those values are less than 1, less than a whole. And it goes on to say this one at the end, because it's out of 100, could also be thought of as a percentage. But there are other videos which focus on that. Right, so an improper fraction. So you may have guessed by now that an improper fraction is the opposite, the other way round. So the numerator is larger than the denominator, which means that we've got a value that is more than 1. And here's some examples. And they're probably less obvious. They're probably not fractions that you would necessarily recognize straight away. But there are some examples. Okay, so then we've got our third type, which is mixed number, which could be described as a whole number and a fraction. And again, this means that we've got a value bigger than 1. What we're going to look at is the fact that any top-heavy fraction, any improper fraction, can also be written as a whole number and a fraction, which we call a mixed number. So 5 over 2 becomes 2.5. 15 over 4 becomes 3 3/4. 7 over 5 becomes 1 2/5. 10/8 becomes 1 2/8. 50 42ths, or 50 out of 42 would become 1 8/42 over 42, and 205 over 100, or 100th, would become 2 5/100. It might be worth saying at this point, we have special names for certain denominators, like if it's a 2, it's halves, 3 are thirds, 4 are quarters. And from that point on, mathematically, we call them fifths, sixths, 42ths. So there's these TH sound at the end. But equally, you could just think of it as 7 out of 5 or 7/7, either way. Right. So let's explore this a bit more. You might want to pause and have a look at the relationship and see if you can work out where that's coming from. But quite often when you're getting to grips with fractions, a good starting point is to look at it pictorially. So see a picture of it. And it says here, some of these can be simplified, but more on that later. So perhaps for another video. So here we have some pictures of fractions. And if you look at that first one, we could think of this as cake or pizzas. Quite often we use cake and pizzas because it's something we all have seen in everyday life. And you could say that each whole, has been cut into 3 parts, equal parts, must be equal parts. So this would be cut into thirds, and so is this one. And then this one, if we're only interested in the blue parts, then we can see we've got the whole of this, and then this extra third. So we could write this as 7/3 or 7/3, and that's using improper fractions. And let's just check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have 7/3. But another way of looking at it is we've got two complete circles. So we've got 2 whole, and then we've got this extra 1/3. Okay? Whenever you feel confident enough, you could stop, pause the video, and just have a go at doing this for yourself. So let's have a look at the next one. The next one, they're cut into 4 equal pieces, which means we've got quarters, and both are the same. They've both cut into quarters, but in this one, the whole of it is coloured in blue, and then we've got this extra 1/4 coloured in of the second shape. So we could write that as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 quarters, or 1 whole plus an extra quarter. There we have it. So we are changing these from improper fractions to mixed numbers. Have a go at the next one yourselves. Pause it, try it out, and then you can play to check that you're correct. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's cut into eighths. We've got a whole one here, which means there are 8 eighths. And then we've got an extra 3 here. So that gives us 11 eighths. And then if we're looking at it as mixed number, we've got 1 whole plus an extra 3 eighths. Let's move on to the next one. We've got cut into 5 bits, so we've got fifths, and this we can see there's the whole, so that's 5/5, and then this one's complete also, so we've got 10/5, and then we've got these extra 2, so that's 12/5, which would be the same as 1 whole, another whole, that's 2, and an extra 2/5. Okay. Here's another page of them. Pause it, have a go, and then I'm going to quickly put up the answers. So play again when you're ready. Okay, so first we had our improper fractions, and next we had our mixed numbers. So hopefully you did well on that. If not, rewind a bit and try them again. See where you went wrong. Here's some more. So what about if we don't have the pictures? Have you picked up the pattern, and are you able to do it without having the picture to show you? So 7/3, what would that equal? 5 quarters, what would that equal? 11 eighths. And finally, 12/5. Okay, well, what we have to see is how many 3s we can get out of 7. And the answer is we could get 2. 3 2s would give us 6. And then we've got 1 remainder. So the answer is 2 1/3. Pause it, have a go at the next ones, and see how you get on. So you're seeing how many 4s we get out of 5. We can get 1 with 1 remainder. So it would be 1 1/4. How many 8s in 11? 1 with 3 remainder. 1 3/8. And finally, how many 5s in 12? 2 with 2 remainder. So it equals 2 2/5. That's our starting point. I will do another video, but hopefully that started you off.